her home in East Tawas, Michigan. Okay, now make that statement again about that it'll be the...
Oh. This tape will be the property of the Roscommon Historical Society.
Great. Okay, let's start with telling about the name of your father and mother and your brothers and sisters.
All of them.
Yeah, first tell us about your parents.
Okay. Okay, just a minute. You haven't got it on, have you?
Yeah, it's on.
Oh, that's
It's okay.
My parents were Velma and John Ostling. They came from Sweden early in their lives.
Do you know what year they immigrated?
I've got that someplace here.
Okay, we can look it up later then.
Um,
What year were they married?
1906.
1906? Okay. So they came sometime before 1906. Where in America did they immigrate to?
My father came directly to Chicago, and my mother came with her parents and settled in Minnesota.
What was her maiden name?
Velma, Wilhelmina, Christina Skagerberg.
Great. Then were all her sisters born in Sweden?
No, the rest of them were born in this country.
Oh, okay. But she was born in Sweden.
Yes.
Okay. And they met in Chicago. Your mother and dad, right?
Yes, they did.
And what did your father do in Chicago?
He worked for the Pullman train and lived there for quite a while. But then they, due to his health problems,
Which were...
living in the...
But didn't
in
he
the
have the
shops.
health problems because of... What kind of work did he do for Pullman?
I don't really know.
Oh, okay.
I don't really know what kind of work he did. But they decided that they'd have to do something different. And there was a man from this part of the country that, where they found out about the North Country and sold them the property in Mary's Township.
Sight unseen?
Yes, which was very bad at the time.
Uh-huh.
Because they found out it was just a sand hill. They thought they were going to be farming. But my father found that that wasn't a way of living, so he was a carpenter, so he followed that trade. Built a lot of the cottages around Higgins Lake.
So, so they started their early married life in Chicago then? So
yes.
Was
yes.
Harold born in Chicago?
Harold and Bob were born in Chicago.
Okay,
And
let's just list your brothers, since you're the only girl, you and your brothers. So
Harold,
first there was Harold.
And Robert.
And they were born in Chicago?
Yes.
Okay.
And George, and Arvin, and Art, and Kenny, and
Where
Ralph.
did you come in?
That's right, I came after Art.
Okay, Art, then Edna.
Yes, and Kenny and Ralph.
Okay. So just the first two were born in Chicago, the rest of you were born in Roscommon. Okay, so what year did your parents come to Roscommon?
Well, let's see, probably
Approximately.
I think that Bob was probably about 2.
Okay. And he was born... We have that somewhere too, don't we?
See, Harold was born in 1907, and Bob born in 1909.
So they came about 1910 or 19... You had said that you thought about 1911. Okay. Okay. And after the farming didn't work out, then he went right into carpentry.
Yes.
Probably didn't take him long to figure that out.
That's right.
Oh. And did he go into business for himself? Your father?
Yes. He and several others. Mr. Soderholm was one of them, too. They and my oldest brother then, as he became older,
he worked with your dad?
Carpentry, too.
Okay, great. So, tell us about when you started school. Where did you go to school?
Well, as luck would have it, the school building was right on our property.
Was
on
it
the
there?
corner of our property.
Do you think it was there when your parents moved there already?
No, I don't think so. That part I don't remember or know about. I never
Okay.
asked about that. But anyway, it was very convenient. We'd run home for lunch. And they used to tell me that I went to school right from the beginning. I was about 3, 4 years old because I'd follow the kids to school and somebody'd have to bring me home.
Oh, isn't that cute?
So,
And that was a
Yeah.
one-room school. And the
Mhm.
name of it was
the Wayne School,
the Wayne School.
and there were 8 grades.
Oh, okay. What were the name of some of the other family children that came to that school?
Well, the Soderholms, and there was Martinsons, and there was Cedarmans, and all through Swede Town, as we say.
When you say Sweetown, how big of an area are you talking about?
Maybe 5 miles altogether.
Okay, with like the Wayne School and kind of in the center?
Well, it was, I suppose you
no?
could call it that, yes.
So today it would be like south to the Cedarman Road that should be Soderholm Road.
Mm-hmm.
And how far did, when
Well,
they
the
say
Johnsons, you see,
Sweetown,
there was Johnsons there too.
was the Granlund family part of that?
Yes, Granlunds and Andersons.
Oh, okay. Where Leonard Anderson is now.
Mm-hmm.
And all the way to Higgins Lake? Was that
No,
considered Sweetown?
no, it wasn't, because there was another school out there near the lake.
Oh, okay.
I think that's where Signe might have gone.
Yeah, because she said
She
she did
said-
not go to Wayne
No.
School. So
I can't
the
remember
part
name
that's
of it.
called Sweetown is really the cluster of families that went to
Mhm.
send their children to Wayne School. Okay, great. Do you remember any of your teachers' names from Wayne School?
I have to dwell on that for a while, probably.
Okay, that's all right. Let's go on to when you met your husband.
Oh, well, this was in,
Well, no, let's get you to high school first. Because tell us about your taking the test and
well, we, of course, had the grade school through the 8th grade. And then the towns consolidated. And so we went by bus to Roscommon to school, through high school.
okay, and you had to pass this test that you passed when you were.
Yes, in the 8th grade. We had to take a state examination to pass that, and then you could go to high school.
So how did you get to be so young? How did you skip some grades or something?
Yes.
How was that?
Yes. One of the other students, Bill Granlund, and I were the only 2 in the grade, in the class, so the teacher let us go ahead, work ahead.
Oh, see, you're
So,
so smart.
Well, I don't know if we were smart, but it was, I think, probably kept us out of trouble because it kept us busy.
Sure.
So,
So
that's
you
what-
were how old
yeah.
when you started the 9th grade then?
12,
You were only 12.
yeah. I was 16, we graduated in 34. Telling my age here.
That's all right. We all have an age. What's the difference? Okay, you graduated in 34 from Roscommon High School. Then what did you do?
Well, I think my parents thought I was too young to go to college anyway. And at that time, my mother was very ill with arthritis, almost an invalid.
Oh.
So I was really needed at home. So
Mhm.
I was at home for 4 years.
Before you were married?
Yes, but in between times, worked at the Herald News office a
Oh,
little bit,
great.
and then a lot of us gals worked as maids at Higgins Lake.
In the summertime?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Tell us about your family's cottage at the lake.
Oh, yeah. Well, in early years, my dad bought a piece of property at Pine Bluffs and built a little cottage on that. And so we spent a lot of time at the lake. Even before that, we used to go to the parks, Garish Park,
Oh, did you?
on Sundays
Mhm.
for picnics, but most everybody in the countryside went to the lake.
Mhm.
So it was,
And when did your family get that car that we had saw pictures of?
oh,
Were you already out of high school when they got the car?
oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So your brother's arthritis afflictions came from your mother's side of the family, huh? Your dad was healthy. He didn't have that.
Well, he didn't have it, but I guess it is mostly from my mother's side. Because her father was really crippled. And,
Because they have very severe when you think about
Yes,
arthritis,
they
they
do.
are very severe.
Bob and George and I have had really terrible days.
Yeah. What do you remember about the town when you were like in high school and working at the?
Oh,
That's kind of a vague
certainly,
question.
certainly not like today.
Yeah, yeah.
But we could go to the restaurant and have a hamburger, even
Yeah.
then.
Oh, sure.
So yeah.
Remember the trains coming in?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
trains. And we did take trains. We would go to Chicago once in a while on a train, visit relatives. So I guess we weren't completely isolated.
No. I thought of something else I wanted to ask. Oh, I wanted to ask when your family had electricity. Was that a big thing when it came?
Oh, definitely. Not everybody wanted it either.
Oh, so.
Because, where they put the lines and everything, everybody debated about that. But that was certainly a relief to get electricity.
Did they get it when you did the Wayne School get electricity while you were a student there?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I don't remember that, but I hardly think so because it was really primitive.
It seems like I remember one of your brothers telling about having to, because you lived so close, that they were always the ones that had to go start the wood stove at the school.
Oh yes, that was
A
just,
daily routine.
that was,
Yeah.
and shoveling snow and mowing lawns, keeping things going.
So they really were the caretakers of the school.
We didn't have running water there either. We pumped it.
Oh, outside, I'm
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So there must have been an outhouse.
Yes. Those two.
Oh, yeah, that's the same as at Richardson School. Every teacher's report said they need, or that they have outhouse and, no running water,
Yeah.
all this.
Yeah. It's hard to believe today.
It is, isn't it?
It's.
Yeah.
I don't think the kids can really understand it. We didn't know any different, though. We didn't have anything.
Well, sure, that's how you did it. Where did you meet your husband, Mike Nunn?
Oh, through a friend.
In Roscommon?
Roscommon. He was working for what's the DNR now, it was Conservation Department at that time. And he was freelance officer there in the local district office.
Oh, freelance. What does that mean?
Well, you were kind of sent here and there,
Oh.
just around the state.
Oh.
Yeah. So we met there, and a couple of years later he was stationed there at Roscommon. So we met and dated.
So when did you get married?
1938.
Before the war, then. Did you get married at Messiah?
No, Bay City.
Oh,
At
you
Bay
went to
City,
Bay
Messiah.
City. Oh.
Mhm.
Okay. Since you were the only daughter, was this a big wedding?
No.
Or did you
I
elope?
No, we didn't elope because everybody knew about it.
Uh-huh.
We had breakfast at home that morning with
Oh.
the rest of the people. And
Uh-huh.
not only that, but you'll think it's really strange. We went on to the Michigan State game, football game.
Oh, I don't think that's strange at all. So did just your parents with you?
My brother Arv and Eileen McGurk stood up with us,
Oh.
and we all went down to there, and of course met some of Mike's fraternity friends
Well, that was
and
neat.
other friends that
Was he a Michigan State graduate?
Michigan State.
Your husband, Mike, was? Well, that's neat. Okay, do you remember anything about the Galmore boarding house in Roscommon?
Oh, Mrs. Barber.
It was her parents. The Galmores were her parents. See, I bet that Mr. Galmore died, I think, in 31, so you were still out at Wayne School.
Yeah.
You probably don't
No,
remember a lot of that.
there were several, Dobie and Art and Mike and several others room and board at, it was Barber's house.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
To go to school when they went to high school, you mean?
No, when they were
After they were out of high school.
Out of high school,
Oh.
working in town, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Trying to think of their name.
Excuse me, gee. Give us a little bit of the occurrence of your brother Art.
Oh, well, as all of the brothers were drafted, but he was the first one to go. The day after, I think it was Pearl Harbor, the 7th of December, and he was scheduled to go to Fort Custer on the 9th. It's his date to go. So it was pretty dramatic right then.
I bet.
And but he was sent then, when he had his 6 weeks of training, whatever it was, sent to Fort Warren, Wyoming, and he was there until he came home on furlough.
That was the furlough in November of 42.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's when he had the
He was
unfortunate
going
accident.
to go hunting.
Yes. Well, he was going to join some friends from Lansing, Dobie's friend and his son, and go fishing on the night. This was the night before deer season. And so they were on Higgins Lake with a lot of other boats, whitefish spearing. And the weather turned rough, and they happened to be out near the island. And probably it was quite quiet there, but when they came into the channel between that and the mainland, it was rough water and the boat capsized and they were drowned. And that
just
was
so terrible.
They didn't find the bodies till they came up in the following spring. One of them in April and one in June, but Art's was never found because he went down with the boat. I guess he was probably entangled in the motor, they thought. So
That's
that was November
1942.
1942. Mm-hmm.
And all the rest of the boys
Took their turn at going, but
stayed, they all went in the service, but they all stayed in Roscommon
Yeah.
too, didn't they? Well, Bob
Yeah.
went to the UP for a while.
Yeah, he was. He worked for the highway department in the Upper Peninsula quite a few years, and then finally came back to Roscommon to live. And George stayed in Roscommon.
What kind of work did George do?
Well, he did. I think floor work was what he did. Sanding floors and finishing floors and that kind of work. And then he was in the gamble store for a while. He had a partner, I don't know who was with him now at that time. But there was a gamble store in town. And then he got to work for the school later years.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And Arv had a grocery store on the corner of whatever that street is.
So, 5th Street and Lake.
5th Street and Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And
He had that a long time, didn't he?
yeah. And Art worked in the bank during his young life there, Roscommon back, until he went into service. And who else do we have? Kenny. Kenny worked for the DNR.
Oh, did they live in Roscommon most of his life?
Mm-hmm. And
Did he work at the forest fire? What
No,
did he
Harold
do?
did.
Oh, Harold worked.
Harold worked at
Oh, we
the,
didn't, yeah, we gotta get Harold's
Mm-hmm.
work life. Harold worked with your father as a carpenter,
Yes.
but also with the DNR.
Then later with they called it the experiment station, the
Mhm.
experimental station. Yeah. And let's see, where were we now? Back to
I think we have everybody but Ralph.
Ralph. Well, I think probably everybody knows Ralph.
Ralph.
He taught school
Mhm.
at Roscommon schools for 20 years and became a legislator for 20 years
Mm-hmm.
and was retired.
Great. And you were talking about your parents becoming naturalized. Did that not occur till they got to Roscommon?
Now that I don't know for sure.
Okay. We could
But
look on those papers
perhaps
because
it
you have
would,
those
yes.
papers.
That one, I think that one was from Chicago though.
Oh, okay. they
So
probably
I'm
did
not
that in
sure about the
Chicago.
others.
Okay.
I have to resource that, I guess, here. Some of this stuff.
And then how long did you stay in Roscommon after you were married?
about a year and a half, I guess.
Not long enough.
Not long enough, no. No. Then he moved to Mount Pleasant.
Mhm.
Mike was transferred there. He'd had several transfers before that. He says, I guess we'll have to take one pretty soon. I won't have a job.
Mhm.
So I know one of them was supposed to be at Baraga, in the Upper Peninsula. And at that time, there were only bears in Baraga.
Mhm.
So I said, I prefer to wait if we can do something different.
Mhm.
So we moved to Mount Pleasant. We were there more than 2 years, I think. And then got out of the conservation department and took up hardware again.
Mhm.
Moved to East Tawas.
Okay, so then you had the hardware store here for how many years?
27 years.
27 years.
Yeah.
And here you are in East Tawas doing all this work for the Historical Society in the church here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, if there isn't anything else, we'll just take that and run with it. What do you think?
Right. I don't know if anything more exciting, except a lot of volunteer work, hospital and
Oh, yeah.
fish organization.
Yeah. That you do here. And you come back to Roscommon for a lot of
Occasionally.
things and family things.
Mm-hmm.
But your family certainly was. Well, tell us a little bit about your parents starting the church.
Oh, that's
Do you remember that?
long, hard struggle, yes. But, well, there were several families that really took part, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Do you remember
you
that?
got part-time, just interim ministers, just seminarians usually, you know, for a few months at a time. We didn't have a regular pastor or anything. And so everybody just kind of...
I had the impression that your mother and a couple of the other ladies really taught the children and kept it got it started and kept it going.
That and the Ladies' Aid.
Yeah, no,
You
that
heard
would have
about
been
that. Ladies'
Mrs.
Aid.
Nordstrom, your mother's sister.
Yes.
Let's go through the names of your mother's sisters, because most of them were in Roscommon, weren't they?
No.
No, just
No.
Amelia?
Just Emmanuel, really.
Oh, okay. But your mother was one of how many children?
11.
11. And then when you were a young girl, she took in her father. You said Grandpa Pete
Mm-hmm.
to live with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then when they started the church, they must have done that fairly soon after they moved up there.
Well, you see, it was a school, you see.
Oh, yes.
The place,
that
it was
couldn't
a
have been.
school, you see. So it was
had to be
later
later.
years before it was started. I think that's all in your...
That's right,
Village
because it was
Township Road.
1935, and that would have been, you would have been in high school.
Mm,
Okay.
so,
That was the Sorter
later.
Homes and Cedarmans and Rydell's. Okay. I don't think I have any more questions. Oh, here's one. This reminds me of entertainment for the family. So many of the pictures we just looked at, the boys had.
oh yes. We had quite a group that were musically inclined, shall I say.
Mm-hmm.
We had a piano, always, and my brother Art and I took lessons piano.
Oh, who was your teacher?
Oh, I was thinking of Duell, not Charles Duell, wife, but what was the other Duell?
I don't
Howard.
know.
Howard was his wife. And at one time, I had 2 or 3 teachers,
Mm.
and one was an old gentleman. I can't remember his name now, but he didn't believe in anything, only classical music. And Art said, oh, he wasn't into that. So anyway, he wanted to quit, but he played a lot by ear.
Oh, wow.
Then we had a lot of instruments. I don't know how we happened to get, because my father was musical too. He played the clarinet and the guitar.
Really?
Yeah. And Harold had a trombone and banjo. And Bob and Kenny and Ralph all played the saxophone. Art too. George had the trumpet, cornet.
Great.
And then the Soderholm boys, Elmer and Oscar, I think it was, they had saxophones.
Mm.
So we sometimes just had a little orchestra by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Should have recorded
That
some of
had
that.
to
If
be
we'd had
fun.
a recording, wouldn't that be
Yeah,
great?
that would have had to be fun.
But that was fun.
Did
A
you
lot of
use
entertainment.
Did you use the school to get together for get-togethers?
Not really. I don't
No?
think.
It's
Not too
that
much.
Richardson
Only at
school. It
Christmas.
sounds like they
Only
did.
Christmas and things like that we had.
Mhm.
Oh, and the Swedes, of course. I don't know. Too many people know about Yulata, but that's early Christmas morning service. Like any time after 4 o'clock in the morning, you had to be in church. And my father'd get us all out and
Wow.
go to church.
Wow.
That was cold.
Uh-huh.
But that tradition carried on for quite a while.
And did they do that in each other's homes?
You know, in this.
In the church.
In the church.
Okay.
Hmm.
We won't tell
The school
Pastor about
bell.
that.
No.
4 o'clock.
Well, he'd be going for it. He'd go for it.
Uh-huh, he probably would.
Well, there probably aren't any Swedes left to remember it, you know, because that was. Of course, we were all at home yet. My mother used to say, well, if you could go out on Saturday and Saturday night, you can get up early for church.
Mm-hmm. That mother's right. Okay, thank you very much, Edna.